Welcome to the Expedition of Hope, written by L.L. Smith, narrated by L.L. Smith. Chapter 2, Date Night. Asher sat in the class, enduring yet another peer's formulaic speech. His peers spoke about their honor for the mission, their pride for the ship, or their loyalty towards Captain Tom. Each speech as cliché as the last. Asher really hoped that he'd find at least one other person who shared his views. He glanced past Miss Twitch's head to read the clock, and saw that this new enthralling speech would be cut short in a matter of minutes. The bell rang, and all the bored teens sprang to life and rushed out of the class. Asher was no exception. Up and out with all the rest. Same as always, he searched the hall for his queen. He had come only a short distance before spotting Courtney. "How are the speeches going?" Courtney could already hear Asher's answer. "Stupid! I don't see how people can be so blind. Can anyone form their own opinions?" Asher rambled on, frustrated. He soon noticed Courtney's lack of interest. "What's the matter? I know this isn't really your thing, but you're never this uninterested." Asher pried at Courtney. "Aren't you tired of all this?" Courtney paused a moment to register Asher's attention. "I mean this routine of ours. It's become rather dull to me. We get out of class, you tell me about your day, and then we split." Asher stepped in front of the exit. "If you want something different, all you have to do is ask. Let's go on a date, right now." Asher cracked the best smile he could muster. "A date? Right now?" Courtney stood before Asher, trying to read his mind. "Right now. I can be spontaneous. I will do no complaining, and we will have a great time. That's a promise." Asher continued to milk his cheesy smile. "Well, we are months overdue for a good date, but what are we going to do?" Courtney tested his preparedness. "I don't know. I hadn't got that far ahead. Come on, let's not waste any more time." Asher grabbed Courtney by the hand as he pulled her through the school's exit and off to their new adventure. "Courtney, do you want to see a movie?" Asher dug deep into his mind for ideas. This wasn't really his thing. "Huh! A movie? Haven't we seen all the movies in that theater by now?" Courtney teased Asher. They walked for miles, all over town, brainstorming. For Courtney, this was enough of a change. After 3 years with Asher, she had become content with this routine, but something about this day beckoned for a change. Finally, to Courtney's surprise, Asher spun about mid-stride and asked, "So, Courtney, how dangerous are you feeling today?" "What exactly are you asking me?" Courtney was both focused and worried. "It's nothing bad, just slightly dangerous." "Okay, I'm in. So let's have it. What's your great idea?" "Okay, so you heard about that guy on the news, Robert Tillman?" Courtney stared blankly at Asher. "He was recently arrested for his involvement in the terrorist group Liberation." Courtney's blank stare persisted. "His house still hasn't been searched by the authorities. How's about you and I get the first look into Robert's private life?" Asher rubbed Courtney's shoulders in anticipation. "That's your big date plan? Snooping around some criminal's house?" "Oh, come on. Don't act uninterested. This is the best of both worlds. You're a private investigator in training, and I'm a conspirator. We can both have a good time." Asher stopped rubbing her shoulders and bent down to touch her cheek with his. "I won't deny that this does sound fascinating, but I don't know that it qualifies as a date. Furthermore, I'm training to be an investigator on the police force, not some random PI you see advertised in the newspaper." Courtney couldn't believe she'd almost allowed her investigator comment to slide. "All right, so are you in?" Asher kissed her on the cheek for encouragement. "Fine. I mean, with my dad being the sheriff and your dad the head officer of the captain's guard, being caught really isn't a thing for us." Asher fought back jitters as he cracked his sinister smile. "Well, don't just stand there, Asher. Lead on. I assume you know where this guy lives, or I guess I should say lived." Courtney was starting to catch Asher's jitters. As they jumped fences and evaded guard dogs, they realized how much they'd enjoyed having these adventures together. With each new obstacle, a new adventure presented itself, until they finally arrived at the Tillmans' house. It stood before them, peeling shingles urging them to turn back, the chimney stack spewing a familiar smell, the empty swing in the front yard blowing in the wind. The grass turf at their feet lay matted and stained, yet further signs begging them to turn back. They stood before the house, thinking, should we be doing this? How dangerous is liberation? And the most dreaded of all, what if someone's home? Despite all these signs urging the visitors to turn back, the front door stood, cracked open. Asher and Courtney took one last look at each other before approaching their front door invitation. Asher placed his hand on the cold knob, ready to enter. "Are you sure you're ready for this?" "Yeah, let's do it." Asher swung the door open. The house was empty. They walked about the kitchen and living room. No furniture, unused carpet, and barren countertops. Courtney was surprised to see a fridge in the empty kitchen and compelled to look inside. A single gallon of vanilla ice cream. He can't keep ice cream in the fridge, Courtney spoke to herself. Asher, by this time, had made it to Robert's bedroom. It was perhaps the only room in the house that was used. Papers flooded the floors, signs and maps cluttered the walls. Glancing at the walls was a glance into Robert's very mind and thought process. I need to make sense of all this! Asher gazed about the room, hoping for an obvious starting point. Courtney reached into the fridge and got a firm grip on the ice cream tub. As she pulled it towards her, she quickly realized that the tub was much too heavy for ice cream. She dropped it onto the nearest counter and heard the contents clank together. When she finally got it opened, she saw a sea of ammunition. Bullets of all calibers, thoughtlessly dumped into this tub. There's only so many places to get ammunition around here. This has to have been stolen. I need to find a gun. If he has a gun, that means he was a police officer. Courtney raced into the next room, leaving the bullets on the counter. Asher sat in the bedroom, papers scattered around him. Newspaper articles, copies of the mission's originating data, and the ship's manifest. Something interesting at last. Asher scoured through the documents with hopes of uncovering an untold truth regarding Hope's expedition. As he searched, Courtney joined him in the room. Dude, the only thing that he has in his fridge is a tub full of ammunition. Courtney bounced with a wicked grin. A fridge full of bullets? He has copies of all sorts of documents that I don't even know how he has access to. He has a ship's manifest? I thought that was for captain's eyes only. Asher picked up the document and waved it at Courtney. I'm trying to find his firearm. I want to know what he did, how he got all these bullets, and what he plans to do with them. Courtney was beginning to get distracted by all the papers on the walls as she spoke. I know, it's overwhelming, isn't it? I'd love to make sense of it, but I have no idea where to start. Courtney took a seat beside Asher as he raffled through papers. You know, as weird as it may be, this date is so us. Courtney kissed Asher's cheek. See, under the right circumstances, I can come up with some pretty neat ideas. Asher laid against the wall, pleased to have some help. Hours quickly bled together as they shuffled through piles of papers. Each new understanding gave way to a new question, and each answered question raised a few more. Their collective minds were able to make sense of the utter mess before them. They started by simply sorting out all the papers grouped by what kind of document they were. News articles, mission specifications, and non-mission related materials formed the neat piles on the ground. From there, they broke them into subcategories based on a document's relevancy and whether or not it contained any new information, and so on. The hours continued to blend together as they worked hard to make sense of Robert's mess. With her chin resting on her knees, Courtney observed, You know, I'd forgotten how cute you are when you get all focused like this. Courtney worked her fingers through Asher's black waves. She soon reached out to embrace him. Asher continued to sort through his stack of papers and pretended not to notice Courtney. But soon, Asher's organization became less accurate with each page he stacked. He eventually leaned into Courtney's embrace and tossed his last paper aside. I know you love me for more than just my big, focused brain. Asher rubbed his face against Courtney's chest as she continued to play with his hair. But as their lovemaking grew from a simple kiss to a passionate sharing of tongues and skin, they became unaware of the sound of footsteps and splashes of liquid traveling through the halls. Asher and Courtney were literally heating up. As they both broke into sweats, they became aware of the danger. Their passion disappeared and was smothered by a black cloud and their own symphony of coughs. Asher was the first to his feet, but just as soon as he had made it to the room's exit door, it slammed in his face. As they immediately rushed the door, their coughs worsened. They kicked, rammed, pounded, thrusted, their shoulders, their feet, their knees, full bodies, everything yielded no result. Frustration and fatigue soon turned into panic as the temperature within the building raised well beyond uncomfortable levels. Realizing that there was no sense in opening the door, even if they were able to do so, they feverishly rummaged around the room, knocking down filing cabinets, tearing down papers in search of any sign of exit. They embraced each other as they seemed out of ideas. If we get that door open, we may be able to use some of the sheets off his bed to shield us from the flames as we run through the house. Asher stared, mortified by Courtney's hopeless suggestion. Well, have you got any better ideas right now? Courtney returned his stare. Without question, Asher began to find something to use as a battering ram. He checked through the turned-over filing cabinets for anything useful. Courtney gathered up sheets and blankets and discovered that the bedding was not on top of a mattress at all. It was merely on top of a stack of pillows. After doing some digging, Courtney discovered a glimmer of hope. The pillows were on top of a hollow box mattress. Within the box mattress was a small arsenal of weapons, all of which appeared to be loaded. Asher! Courtney seized a 12-gauge to wave at Asher. Asher looked back at her, puzzled. There are loads of guns in this mattress. We should be able to use the shotguns to blow through the stucco walls. Asher's face glowed with hope, and Courtney shoved the shotgun into Asher's sternum. They stood back as Asher took aim at the wall. After releasing 3 blasts into the outer wall, they saw the outside. They proceeded to kick and break their way through the demolished wall until they came spilling onto the lawn. They quickly turned about and saw the house going up in flames.